All right, so we should be getting good at this. Measuring a line 3 3/4 inches over, and then cutting it right to the side of the line so that we have two pieces that are roughly the same size. In this case, I got it pretty close. Now, let's talk about the next joint, the half lap joint. The half lap joint is one where both pieces are going to be cut halfway through at the width of the other piece. So when we do the layout is going to look like an oversized rabbet joint. This is going to start by putting the pieces perpendicular to each other, and we can take our square, put the square in here to make sure that it really is perpendicular, and then we also want it to be finger flush on this side and on this side. So we want it, when we run the finger down here and we run the finger down here, we want to make sure that it doesn't feel like there are any bumps. And then we're going to take our pencil and draw a line on the face of that guy, and then we're going to turn it over and draw a line on the face of this guy as well. Now that we've done that, we've marked the extent of each of those guys. We can take it apart, and we should have two lines, and those guys are going to be the guys that we remove so that this can sink down into each other, and the overall thickness will be just that of one board. We're going to put one guy to the side right now, and we're going to do the rest of the layout on this guy, and then we're going to copy this layout onto the other guy. This layout is going to look a lot like the rabbet joint. It's probably easiest to put it into the bench vise, and then we're going to measure from this face that we drew the line on down halfway, which is 3/8 of an inch, and put a dot. And then we're going to do the same thing down at the end of our workpiece and put another dot. And then we're going to connect the dots. We're going to have a line that goes down the middle through the thickness, and we're going to want to make our shoulder line go from the face onto the edge here. And we're going to copy this on the other side. Once we've done both sides, I'm going to turn it up and put it on the end. Now, why am I holding the ruler or the square like this and connecting two lines? Why don't I just put the end right up against here? This is a very narrow face, and getting a square to stay square here and not rock is very difficult. So I find it easier to hold it in the middle and stabilize it with my fingers when I'm making this kind of line. Alright, we started with the line on the face and then transferred it over to the one side, around the end, and then to the other side. And once again, we should have one line that just wraps around, and it will be useful to mark the waist on not just the face, but each edge and the end, so that we know where we're cutting. And we want to remove this entire chunk so that it can be replaced with the other board. Before we do that, we need to do all the same layout on this guy. Now we have both of these guys set up with the layout and X's marking the waist side, and it's time to cut them. Just like with the rabbet and the dado, you can either put it in the bench vise or you can use one of our miter boxes. In either case, you need to make sure that you cut on the waist side of the line and you don't blow through the floor. On this side, we've gone down and kissed the line. On that side, we haven't quite kissed the line, so we're going to have to do that again. Now we switch, do the other one. You can test the quality of your cut before you even do any chiseling by lining up the blocks again so that the line that you drew and the edges are all lined up the way they were before, and then look at your cut, and the cut should be right underneath the edge of the other board. And what we're going to do next is use chisel to cut out or chop out all of this waste here and all of this waste here, and then these two boards can be smushed together like a sandwich, We can do the same thing on this side here. Check out the quality of this cut, and the edge of the cut should be lined up pretty much with the edge of the board. Now, they're going to take turns in our bench vise, and we're going to chop down. Now, just like with the rabbit, we want to be very careful not to chop too close to our line, lest we have split, because we're going with the wood here, with the grain here, so we don't want to have it split and then go below the line. And if you take a look at this swirl that I have here and see how the grain goes, I'd say there's a good chance that this does not split nicely for me. So I'm going to take off just a little bit at a time, and I'm chopping down towards that shoulder line that I already cut and separated those fibers. So as before, bevel goes towards the waist and the outside. Flat side goes towards the part of the wood that I want to keep. And I'm just going to pop it down lightly and watch it split and see how it splits there, and hope that it doesn't split below the line, below the floor line, before I even get to the shoulder that I cut. All right, pop that puppy off. And we can keep doing that till we get close to our line. All right, once we get down to there, I don't want to do any more chopping. What I'm going to do is take this out and clamp it to the tabletop and start paring. But before we do that, let's chop the other guy. As with the rabbit and the dado, we're going to want to keep all of our digits behind the blade. Use one hand for the finessing and the other hand for the power, and slice away to get down to the line as flat as possible. You can feel it with your finger and see if you feel any bellies or dips, and then come back and slice some more where you feel changes in elevation where it's not flat. Once you think that you have that flat, it's time to do the other guy. Now with the second guy, we can start testing and seeing how well it fits together. And there are several places where we need to test. We need to test along the side here, we need to test along this side, and then we need to test to see what kind of lip we have on this back side here. And this feels like we still have a lip. We want it to be as flush as possible. So I'm going to need to get some more off. You can see on this guy, I still have some left on this side and none on this side. So I have extra thickness over on this back side here that I'm going to have to get rid of. This also have some on the back side and a little bit on the front side. Getting near the back side here, that's rolled up. Tear out is a danger. So one option is to turn around and go from the other side. Another option is to very slowly slice sideways so that the blade is actually going into the wood even as it goes through to the other side. And then we just have that last corner to worry about. Alright, that finally starts to feel pretty good. We can go ahead and glue this now. As usual for a glue up, we're going to want our paper so we don't glue it to the tabletop, our glue, a square, and a clamp. So set up like this, before we even put glue on there, it's worth checking to see whether it's worth gluing up. And this is square, and this is pretty well close to flush. There's ever so slightly a lip that I can feel with my thumb, but when I put a ruler on it, I don't see any air gap in there. So we will put glue on both faces and the ends. We want to get some squeeze out that will fill in whatever gaps there are. So we can put that guy there. We want to get a thorough spread. Press together. And we want to push into the shoulder as well so we can get squeeze out from that shoulder, as you can see there. And then clamp these guys tight. Turn it sideways because otherwise it just runs down the face and that's annoying. Once we've wiped off all the squeeze out, we can put the square on it one more time. Make sure it stayed square through all of that bumping, and then let it sit and dry.